Now, Australian Catholic Church officials are today issuing a national apology over the past forced adoption practices. A 3-month investigation by an ABC journalist prompted today's apology.
At least 150,000 Australian women are believed to have had their babies adopted against their wills from the 1950s to the 1970s. One of the victims of that scheme, Lily Arthur, has given a graphic account of her personal experience to the ABC.
When we were going to deliver the child, we were put in a position where we could not see the delivery of the child. I was put on a sideways running position with a leg in a stirrup and my other leg pulled behind me and my face pushed into the mattress. And I gave birth to my first child. After my son was delivered, I was nearly knocked out unconscious and then transferred to a ward without my child.
Lily Arthur there. ABC Newcastle journalist Giselle Wakatama investigated this issue for 3 months and she joins us now from Newcastle. Giselle, good morning. How did this investigation come about?
Well, Michael, it started, I was just routinely looking through a couple of Senate submissions. It must have been a slow news day and I saw that forced adoption was the subject of a Senate inquiry. I looked through probably 10, 20 submissions or so and really there was a similar theme through all of the submissions, quite horrific, traumatic experiences similar to what Lily just described there of women essentially being shackled and drugged and not being able to see their babies that were later forcibly adopted. And so I knew that it was a pretty big issue and I knew it wasn't just locally here in Newcastle. I knew it was Australia-wide. Certainly Tasmania has been known to be particularly barbaric and Western Australia, some concerns there. So I set about interviewing women here in Newcastle in the Hunter Valley, women who'd mainly been dealing with the Catholic Church. And I was in for a very long ride, a very traumatic ride of these women who say that their babies were ripped away, snatched away against their will.
Just awful. I mean, who do the women blame for their treatment?
I think they blame a whole network of people who are involved. Of course, with these forced adoption practices, we know that there are the churches, all of the main churches, the Salvation Army, as well as adoption agencies. And the women feel that essentially there was a conspiracy as such, that they'd go from being in an unwed mother's home where they'd wait out to have their baby, and then they were transferred, in the Newcastle case, they were transferred to the Mater Hospital. Now, both the Unwed Mothers Home and the Mater were run at the time by the Singleton Sisters of Mercy, and really the women feel that they were essentially, their babies were marked for adoption as soon as they went to hospital. Their forms were marked BFA, which means baby for adoption, or UB negative, which means unmarried baby subtract. They say they had little or no choice at all, that their babies were essentially destined to go to couples who, whether it be infertile or whatnot, who wanted to procure a baby, and it was a case of getting a baby at any cost.
What difference do you think this apology today by the Catholic Church will make to these women?
Well, certainly in Western Australia last year, when there was a formal apology issued, that did empower many women. But the women are divided about apologies because they feel that they can't accept an apology until the legal issues are sorted out, because, of course, these women, they claim that there are multiple breaches of the 1965 Adoption of Children Act, and that really their human rights were violated. So until that issue is dealt with, these women find it difficult to accept an apology. However, for many who I've spoken to, they say that it will help with the healing. And of course, with this apology, it's not just the head of Catholic Health Australia, it's also the Singleton Sisters of Mercy, as well as North Sydney Sisters of Mercy and the Maitland Newcastle Catholic Diocese. So they've all come together to issue this apology with the aim of healing and also offering specialised counselling for these women. They say in the past they were essentially like lambs to the slaughter. They had the baby, couldn't see it, couldn't touch it, deeply traumatised, and just left to their own devices without any help whatsoever. and so specialised counselling is something that they look favourably upon. Also, one big issue has been accessing medical records. It's been extremely difficult for women to try and put together the pieces of a jigsaw puzzle when the records aren't there. Now, the CEO of Catholic Health Australia, he acknowledges it, and he knows it's crucially important that these women get some help to access those records and try and put some of the pieces together. He knows that he can't mend broken lives because so many lives have been ripped apart, but certainly if those records are there, that these women then can look and just see what went on.
Indeed. Giselle Wakatama, it beggars imagination. Thank you very much for your time this morning.